If you believe that you have a negative entity attachment, whether you've identified the symptoms yourself or you just know that you have one, then you've likely been taking an approach that will actually make things worse. So in this video, let's establish what those are and create new habits that will help you release your entities for good. There are three major ones that absolutely everybody does, especially at the beginning. And it's okay because you're trying to figure out what's happening with you. But if you're continuing to ask yourself these questions, all you're doing is you're feeding energy to the entity or to the situation that you find yourself in. So those three things are, number one, you try to figure out what type of entity you have. Number two, you try to figure out how you got it in the first place. And number three, you might be asking, why me? All three of these things are very similar in that you are using your 3D mind to try to solve a spiritual problem. Guess what? It doesn't work very well. And in most cases, when you keep asking yourself these questions over and over and over again, all you're doing is you're giving all of your energy to that negative entity attachment in the first place. Another mistake that almost everybody makes is we focus too much on all the problems and how we just want it all to go back to normal. I want to be the way that I was before. I don't want to have to deal with these voices in my head or not being able to sleep at night or not being able to have whatever this symptom was. I just want my life to go back to normal. This is actually a problem because it feeds into the victim mindset. And the solution to removing your negative entity and eradicating your negative symptoms is actually to embrace a new version of yourself. The old one was the one that attracted the negative entity in the first place. So don't focus on going back to the way things used to be. Instead, focus on the new version of yourself that this entity situation has actually created for you. When you embrace the excitement over the new you, the understanding that the only way that you're really going to be able to overcome this is if you essentially reinvent yourself, then now you can be focused purely on that reinvention. The other problem that everybody makes is that they go online and they discover, oh, I'm supposed to sage, or I'm supposed to put salt on the windows, or all these other wife tale sorts of solutions to negative entity attachments. Those things are very antiquated, and I'm sure you've already discovered that they don't work. Even using crystals to try to ward off entities. It's one of those things that a lot of people adhere to and suggest to others. And it usually doesn't work. And it doesn't work because you are the powerful one, not the salt, not the crystal, not the sage. It's all about you. And that's the other thing. People focus a lot on the entity itself rather than on them. It's all about you. It's not at all about the entity. It could just be the random entity that happened to come into you in that moment because you have issues that need to be resolved. You have childhood traumas that need to be released. You have blockages. You don't believe that you can actually step into your power. Any of these and all of these things contribute to that negative entity situation in the first place. And the major mistake that almost everybody seems to make, and really who can blame them because that's the way that our 3D society is set up, is to go to a healer to have them remove your entity for you. This works in that 3D place. You go to a doctor and you get a pill, you go to a doctor and you get a surgery, and they remove your problem for you. This is not a problem like that. This is a spiritual, energy, emotional, mental problem that you get to work on, you get to resolve yourself, and that's the way that you will actually be entity free for the rest of your life. So in order to do that, there's a lot of work ahead of you. And instead of being daunted by that, being worried by that, be excited by that. Be motivated by that. And if you need help, let me know, because that's exactly what I do. This week's energy healing session is a negative entity clearing, and you can find that right here on YouTube. And as I explain in the energy healing, it's important for you to remember that this clearing will help you identify how difficult your entity is going to be to remove permanently, and it may give you at least some temporary relief. Either way, I hope that it helps, and I want to thank you so much for watching this video, for participating in the energy healing and all the other energy healings that I have on this channel. And I look forward to seeing your comments about what you've been dealing with. What have you been going through with your negative entity situation? I'd be happy to give you some thoughts and some advice in the comments section. I love you unconditionally. And I'll see you in the next video.